When you've been through all of the difficult things that you can go through to get to a certain destination, when you've been through all of the challenges, all of the obstacles, all of the roadblocks to reach your destination, you've done all of the hard work that it takes to put yourself into position to reach where you're trying to go in your life. Now's the time to lock in. Now's the time to get focused. Now's the time to really narrow down the steps that you must take to get to the next level. Now's the time to lock in. And it starts not only when you go to bed, but it also starts right when you wake up in the morning. If your goal is to get up in the morning on time, what do you do to get up in the morning? Give yourself one snooze, maybe two snoozes tops. But after that, kick your feet out of bed and sit up immediately. You don't have to get up and walk around. Just sit up in bed. Let the feel of the new day set in. Let your thought process take control. Embrace this new day and embrace this new opportunity. It's time to lock in. And when you get out of bed and you take that first step, then you will feel a lot more focused. You will feel a lot more determined, and you will feel like you have purpose for your day. One of the things that I like to do, and I've learned this along my journey, is I do sort of a daily storyboard, but I do it on my notes. I do it on my computer. You can even do it in your text messages. There are apps that you can do that with also, but it's as simple as sending yourself a daily agenda in your text messages. And you can go back to those texts throughout the day to remind yourself, oh, this was my goal. My goal was to get up at this time. Oh, my goal was to get up, go work out, take my dog for a walk, take a shower, and then get ready for my professional work day. My goal was to do this, but if you write it down, it is a lot more powerful than just having it in your mind. Because our mind can be easily distracted, and we can be easily sidetracked. So it's always better to have it down on something that will visibly remind you of what your day must include in order for you to get to the next level. You gotta lock in. And it's all about having a process of tactics that are a part of a long-term strategy, a process of discipline. The discipline is what allows you to execute those tactics. And of course, those tactics that are a part of a long-term strategy. That is what locking in is about. For example, for myself, in the year of 2017, I lost almost 130 pounds in 11 months. It was amazing doing keto. Yeah, I've gained a little bit of that back, but for the most part, I've kept and maintained the level that I've wanted to eat by staying low carb, because low carb is what works for me. It may not be what works for you, but it's what works for me. So that is what I do. But I still ran into some challenges recently. I found myself eating low carb, but eating the things that were more satisfying more often. And because I was doing that, I wasn't being full, and I was eating more low carb calories than I should be eating. And that was causing me challenges. And my point of this is that if something is causing you challenges, you cannot continue to do the same things over and over and over and expect different results. You have to push yourself to try different things. So how does this translate to me? Well, in my case, what I had to do was get back to upping my protein content. Instead of eating the low carb things more frequently that were more satisfying for me, taste-wise, that were more satisfying for me emotional-wise. I had to get back to the basics in eating the things that contain the most macronutrients for me. That includes high protein and a higher source of good fat content. And once I made that change, guess what? I no longer have had those urges to snack on those feel-good low-carb items as frequently as before. I still give them to myself because you don't want to cut yourself off completely. I still provide myself those rewards, but it's far less frequent. And by giving myself the correct macronutrients, now I am in a totally different space. But I made those changes. I didn't try to convince myself that a square is a circle and wrong is right because it feels better to me and it fits my narrative. Sometimes what is right and what is wrong is wrong. And what is right for you may not be what is right for the next person. And what is wrong for you may not be what is wrong for that person either. We have to QA our process. And for those of you that don't know what QA means, we have to provide quality assurance on the process that works for us. So what does that mean? So in my case, the challenges I was having with my eating, I had to QA that process and I had to start making changes until I found what works for me. That is a quality assurance process, and that is something that we all must do amongst ourselves in order to be able to find what works for us, in order to be able to move forward. In order to be able to move forward as the best version of yourself that you can possibly be, we have to QA our process. And once we do that, you can truly lock in. It's like a marketing campaign. You try this. If it doesn't work, you switch it up. You don't keep doing the same thing that doesn't work, that's not giving you results. If you're trying something and it doesn't work, you switch it up. You switch that marketing campaign up. You try a different ad. You try a different ad copy. You write a different blog post. You try a different tech brief. And once you QA that marketing process and you start to get the results, you start to get the clicks, you start to get the engagement, now you lock in and you move forward and you hit that accelerator button. You put your foot on that gas pedal and now you can move forward with extreme confidence because you have QA'd your process. You have locked in now. And that is what we all must do with anything that we are attempting to do. I wish I could sit here and tell all of you what the QA process for what you were trying to accomplish is. But I can't because I don't understand the challenges of each and every one of you here today. But what I do understand is that you all know deep down what you should be doing that you're not doing. We all know when we have convinced ourselves that the most difficult but rewardful option is not the option we should take because we're afraid. We're afraid that it might not work out for us. We're afraid that the results might actually tell us that this isn't the path that we should be taking. And then we'll have to put in more work to figure out what the path we should take is. So sometimes we convince ourselves that right is wrong and wrong is right so that we don't have to do the extra work. And that is why we have to change the way we think. We have to eliminate ourselves from those types of feelings. And we have to rely on our process, our protocol, the procedures that we've set for ourselves. And it starts with locking in. We have to QA our mind. We have to sit back and ask ourselves sometimes when we start to feel fear or doubt, why am I feeling that way? We have to ask ourselves that. Why am I feeling this doubt? And then we have to overcome that doubt. That is how we QA ourselves. We QA our thought process, and then we lock in. And let me tell you, once you can lock in, you will be unstoppable. you will move forward in anything that you do with supreme confidence because you understand the process that it takes for you to learn what you need to learn in order to be what you need to be. And that is when you will start to reach your greatness. That is when locking in will no longer be just a word. Locking in will become who you are every time that you are faced with something difficult. Because when you lock in, but you have the foundation behind you, you become different. You start to see all of the mistakes that you've made previously. You start to look at your path. You start to look at your past as a huge textbook of trial and error. It becomes a huge quality assurance process of test cases of your life that you have been through, that now you can look back at each and every one of those test cases that you've been through with your life and say, I understand where I went wrong. I should have done this here. I understand where I went wrong in that situation. I probably should have done that. And even if the situation wasn't totally in your control, there may have been circumstances that were beyond you. Maybe you had a boss that had no clue what you did and didn't understand in totality how time consuming it was. You will still understand how to better approach those situations. You will begin to take more control of your destiny once you lock in. But it all starts with analyzing yourself. Sometimes what I like to do at night, and I may have started this because I have problems sleeping at times because there's so much going on in my mind, but sometimes what I like to do at night is I like to lay in bed and analyze the day. I like to look back at my entire day and think about everything that took place. Think about what I accomplished. Think about what I actually set out to accomplish. And if I didn't accomplish that, I have to ask myself, did I put too much on the table or was I just being lazy? And a lot of the times you will find that sometimes you're just being lazy, but also give yourself credit because sometimes we can be overzealous. Sometimes our appetite is bigger than our stomach and we say, oh, I want to do this. Oh, I want to do that, because I am like that. When I learn something new, I become extremely excited and I want to go out and conquer the world. I want to go out and play with this new technology that I found out about. I want to go out and learn how to write in this new writing style that I found out about. I want to go out and speak publicly in a certain way, which takes practice with these new public speaking techniques that I found out about. And sometimes we can set ourselves up for failure by overloading what we are trying to do. So we have to be fair with ourselves when it comes to setting our daily agenda. You don't want to make it too easy, but you don't want to make it too difficult. You have to find that point of, can I accomplish this? Can I make this happen? Can I do the work? Can I get the job done? And then look at what will happen if I move that needle a little bit further so that I challenge myself to do just a little bit more. Can I accomplish that? And it's also important to make sure that you're not just banging your head up against the wall, that you're being very calculated with your work, because it is important to work smarter, not harder. And that is another thing that we have to focus on with everything that we do. We have to do the research. We have to treat it like this is a job. Your life is your job. And the better you are at being yourself, the better you will become in your profession. Believe me, as I continue to improve myself, I am finding myself far more efficient in the things that I look to accomplish. You know, sometimes I sit back and think about this situation. I've just been through the first layoff that I've ever been through in my life. I've watched so many happen and have never been a part of that. And I've always been sympathetic and compassionate for those that have, because I know plenty of people that have been through more than one, more than two, more than three layoffs. This is my first layoff that I've ever been through. But it has challenged me in a way that I couldn't have imagined. It has challenged me in a way that I could have never dreamed of. It has brought out a level of greatness in me that, quite honestly, I didn't know it existed. I didn't know that I could write at the level that I write at. I didn't know that my videos could be as crisp as they've become. I didn't know that there were some talents that I possessed that I even had. But this has brought out more in me than I understood that I was capable of. Because when we are faced with insurmountable odds, when we are faced with challenges that we are unsure how we will overcome, that is when you find that greatness. And that is when you find the opportunity to dig deep inside of yourself and discover and find out who you really are. And when you find out who you really are, you will then start to expand the idea of who you can really become. I had to look back at myself and think that maybe sometimes I was setting these glass ceilings with myself because I had some unresolved doubt. I had some unresolved fears about some of the things that I wanted to accomplish. I was setting glass ceilings within myself that I was not even aware of. But this process has uncovered that for me. No longer will I set those glass ceilings for myself, because now, with the different skill sets that I have polished, with the different attributes that I have fine-tuned, I truly believe that I am unstoppable. And anything I choose to partake in, I will be one of the best to do that. Because my work ethic and my thought process in being able to find the most efficient but effective manner to move forward has elevated to a level that I didn't think was capable of. And that was because I had to QA myself. I had to provide quality assurance on my thought process. I had to provide quality assurance on how I approach difficult situations. I had to lock in, and you have to lock in too.